Stangibelisco here. A while ago I made a sort of a vow to myself that I would avoid politics in my videos, that my site was a technical site devoted to technical matters, particularly electronics. And of late you'll notice that I've done a few politically oriented videos, and I actually had someone leave a message to the effect that they were disappointed to see that I had ventured into politics, and as a result they had unsubscribed to my channel. I'm sorry to hear that, sorry to read that. But it's hard not to talk or think about politics these days, when there are people in Washington who seem bent on finding some way to kill old people by depriving them of medical care. There seem to be people in Washington so hysterical about bashing the other side, particularly bashing our president, that their behavior borders on the irrational. It appears that our republic has begun to grow unstable. And if you read about the founding fathers, I'm sorry to say the word instead of founding fathers and mothers, but the founders of our country, the United States of America, warned that democracy is the most unstable form of government known, and that every democracy, and that was back in the 1700s, every democracy then known up to that time had fallen apart and always had been replaced by a totalitarian regime. So they set out to create not a democracy, which is the rule of people and people's will and whims, but the rule of law, a republic. They wanted to avoid that fate coming to the United States of America, that this free country of ours would fall apart and be replaced by some kind of a totalitarian regime. So it's hard not to talk about politics in a day when we seem to be witnessing that very thing happening. Hysterical attacks of one side against the other, particularly, I dare say, against our president, whether founded in reason or not. People seem to be willing to fight amongst each other over the smallest and most trivial things, not just in the United States, but all over the whole world. And then there are some not so trivial things, like feeding pregnant women's babies to dogs, and other vicious attacks against the people of a place known as the so-called Hermit Kingdom. These atrocities are happening before us, and we, the United States of America, supposedly the leader of the free world, do nothing. The United Nations does nothing. People trying in Washington that we elected, supposedly, trying to figure out some way to get rid of people when they get old, just to simply let them die, deprive them of medical care. I guess, as you can see, I'm a little bit worked up. In fact, very worked up. So much so that I let politics spill over into my channel. If that offends people, I'm sorry, but these things have to be said. We have to go back and look at the way our founders intended this country to be, and to give them a little bit of credit for intelligence and insight into realizing that unless we kept our house in order, it would fall apart, and the end result would be a totalitarian regime. Does that seem to be happening these days? I would say, yes, indeed it does. And we can still stop it. We still have time. But time seems to be growing short. Stan Gibilisco signing off. Until next time, so long.